Hi, I'm Val Cole, host of On TV. This is our brand new show that we're using to help promote new businesses, entrepreneurs, and event coordinators to get your message out there on TV and online. So we'd love to have you on our show. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, and all of our interviews and episodes are available on our YouTube channel. Plus, we have a new episode airing every Saturday at noon on CHCH, and it repeats every Sunday at 7. Thanks for joining us. We've got a great show for you today. Coming up on this episode, Linda Leatherdale, VP Marketing and Business Development for Cambria, is here to talk about that and so much more. And our first guest, Dan Cooper, a real estate legend. What is happening with our real estate market? We're going to find out and get lots of great real estate tips, whether you're buying or selling. Dan Cooper is here. He's broker with Royal LePage Real Estate Services Limited and team leader of the Dan Cooper Group. So good to have you here, Dan.
How are you?
Well, you're considered a legend around the GTA. Tell me a little bit about your 27-year history.
You know, it's been an interesting ride, and I think it's, I've been in the market for quite a while, and I guess you're a product of what you put into the business. And, to be honest, real estate has changed dramatically over the last 27 years, but obviously it's very topical right now, and it's getting a lot of hype in the markets because the market is so buoyant right now, especially on behalf of the seller.
Buoyant, yes. The buyers are having to really duke it out with so many other bidders, aren't they?
Yeah, it's almost an artificial market that we've had for the last 4 or 5 months, and we've had to really retool and come up with a completely different marketing campaign because right now we have such a different kind of beat going on. I mean, it's the perfect mix for real estate if you think about it, because we've got really low interest rates. We've got a lot of immigration, and right now there's a really good beat going on in the GTA. So everybody wants to be in the GTA, and we've got so much immigration coming in from even mainland China that it's kind of skewed the numbers to the point where, if you're not selling, you're in trouble, because in most cases you're probably competing with 6, 8, 10 offers on the same property. And so totally different dynamics apply, and the way you do business is totally different now.
It used to be that way in Vancouver only, but now Toronto is feeling that effect too. You're partly successful because you've got such a great team around you, right? Tell me about the team you've organized.
Well, again, been in the business for quite a while, and I think I adopted the team concept from the very beginning, because these days you just have to have more products and services to be competitive in the marketplace. So I've always surrounded myself with people that are as good as or better than myself, and just try to delegate, the jobs in the business that I don't need to do or I'm not as good at as somebody else. So, these days I think you have to really be dynamic in the service department, the communication. Marketing is second to none, so I've got some great people that kind of fill those gaps. So it may look like I'm doing it all, but I do have a team of 12 behind the scenes, which really gives me a lot of support.
If I wanted to sell my house, why would I choose the Dan Cooper Group and not somebody else? What sets you apart?
Well, that's been a question that's been on my mind since the word go, and maybe that's what's kept us out in the forefront probably on an ongoing basis, because every day I'm looking, how do I change the business? How can I make we, our team stand out and do a better job? So we're every day we're looking at how to bring on new services that I think will give us a competitive marketing advantage, really. Mm-hmm.
Even down to little things like making the house presentable for open houses, right?
Yeah, open houses is a big part of it, to the point where we even have 2 home stagers on staff. In fact, my Rolodex on my iPad is incredible, because you have to have instant access to all trades, because every time we go into property, it either needs some electrical work, or it needs carpet, or it needs paint, it needs a handyman's touch, it needs some cleaning. So, we have to be able to have those services at our fingertips, be able to get in and get out in a quick amount of time, because these days it's all about trying to get the homes to the market fast and take advantage of the marketplace that we're in.
And it's great you can do that, because homeowners, we don't know where to start with that thing. You've got it all figured out in advance. What are buyers looking for these days?
Well, I think, they're just trying to find value, and that's harder and harder to find because in the GTA, that we're over $1 million as our median price range. So, but what makes real estate still affordable is the fact that rates are so low. And if I go back 10, 15 years, our average rate was probably bouncing between 10 and 12%. And so now if you get a 5-year mortgage fixed at say 2.8, 2.7%, it doesn't matter if you're paying in $100,000 extra because it's still affordable. And these days we've got a lot of millennials that have dual incomes and not a lot of expenses, and so they qualify for high debt ratios, and so they are buying these homes. And so it blows me away at what people are buying out there, and maybe the leverage that they have or the leverage that comes with it, but a lot of young people are buying big homes.
I see people trying to sell their homes on their own. What advice do you have for those people?
You're never going to change that. Everybody always thinks that they can do it themselves and try to save money, and I don't blame them. But I think as time goes by, real estate is becoming a very complex space. You don't try to do your own law. So there's a lot of professional disciplines that I think, will stay in business for quite a while. And real estate is getting more and more complex as time goes by. It's there's just a lot to know behind the scenes. Even getting your real estate license these days, it's a lot more intense. There's mortgage financing, there's law, there's accounting. There's just so much more you have to know, and it's a longer program now. So, the caliber of the agents that they're turning out are much better. In fact, there's a lot of degreed people, MBAs, that are getting into real estate because it's such a fun job these days.
That's so great. And busy. You guys are busy. What's happening with the market? Is that crash or correction coming anytime soon?
Well, we've had a change lately because we had new legislation from the Liberals. They're trying to slow things down, and so maybe it is a maiden GTA problem or phenomena. But, I'm hoping they're learning from what did take place out west, because they implemented that 15% surcharge last year, which really slowed the market down maybe too much.
Is that just for the foreign buyers?
Yes. And so, we've got more or less the same thing going on in Toronto now, where they have implemented a surcharge and a lot of new taxes. So it's going to keep the market in check a little more than I think, but there's just so much demand. And if you look at it, it's a supply and demand thing, where we've got so many willing buyers trying to take advantage of cheap money. And the only problem is it's limited inventory. So really, I think the problem is it's supply. And I think if the municipalities can bring more product to the marketplace quicker with less restrictions, then that will probably balance things out a little.
Well, the market is hot. I mean, spring and summer are generally hotter times to sell, but let's see what happens in the coming months. Thank you so much. Thank you for your tips. And if somebody wants to hire your team, what's the first thing they do?
Well, everything's email these days, but our website is simply dancooper.com. And, you can find us online quite easily.
There you go, dancooper.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, the extraordinary and extravagant journey of Linda Leatherdale. It's such a treat. You know her as the popular crusading money financial editor for the Toronto Sun. Now she's the VP of Marketing and Business Development for Cambria, and we'll find out how that path developed. But in the meantime, Linda Leatherdale, it's so wonderful to have you here today.
Val, thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
You are a money guru. Let's talk a little bit about that journey, if you will.
Yeah.
Where did you start and how did you end up here?
Oh my goodness, where did I start? Aurelia is my hometown, Gordon Lightfoot's hometown too. And I started in a little paper called the Packet and Times. And then, the big time is Toronto. Everybody wants to break into it. Long story short, I put out a magazine called Ontario Business Magazine for the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. My husband, photographer, we ended up at the Edmonton Sun newspaper. Peter Pocklington was my columnist out in Edmonton, and came back. I worked with Garth Turner at the Toronto Sun, and then Doug Creighton decided to start up the Ottawa Sun. I was the inaugural business editor. My husband was the photo editor, and then I came back and was the money editor in Toronto. And what a ride. I was with Sun Media for more than 20 years.
Crazy. And people really turned to you for advice and help. Can you think of some of the things that you did while you were editor for Toronto Sun?
Oh my goodness, fighting back for the little guy, always, always. But there was a few things. I don't know whether you remember, the President of the United States at the day was saying that we have these telemarketers feasting on people, loan brokers. And I remember fighting back on that and finally getting a bill passed called the Loan Brokers Act. They called it the Linda Leatherdale bill at Queen's Park. So that was kind of an honor. I believe in real estate, I truly do, and I believe that it is the backbone of our economy, albeit that this is a really hot market, trying to cool it down. But back then, I remember when I bought my first home, I borrowed money from my RRSP and I had to pay taxes. And I said, this isn't right. So what an honor to be sitting in the budget in Ottawa and see the home buyer's plan. And I was behind that. $20,000 of your money tax-free to buy your first home. I remember being and doing a seminar on real estate, and Claude Bennett, the then CMHC chair, I convinced them on 5% down mortgages, but I said, be careful, because we saw what, when you bite off more than you can chew, subprime south of the border and what happened there. So responsible lending, but I was happy to see some of these things passed. But my biggest, the Taxpayer Protection Act, fighting back for the little guy. And of course, with different governments, that's gone out the window. But direct democracy is what I was fighting for everybody. So yeah, I was passionate about helping anybody and everybody when I could.
Well, and you made home buying possible for so many people with the changes that you championed. Yeah. So good on you. And you're only just starting. There's so much more in store for the world, thanks to Linda Leatherdale. So thank you for all that hard work. In fact, it's not just me saying thank you. You've been really heavily honored for all the good things you've done.
Well, what was truly an honor was to get the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal. And that was for all my crusading for taxpayers primarily. And it was a real honor to be there with a former Liberal MP, Michelle Simpson. Now, she got hers because she put all of her expenses online. And I don't really remember that. That's when Justin Trudeau was her seatmate up in Ottawa. She got ostracized not only by the Liberals, her own party, but by the Conservatives and the NDP. Nobody wanted that transparency. I want it for the taxpayers. So what an honor to get that medal with her, and what an honor it is now for every Saturday. I am part of the Roy Green Show on the Chorus Radio Network right across the country. So that's 6:40 a.m. in Toronto, CMHL 900 a.m. in Hamilton, right across the country. Michelle Simpson is part of our team. We're called Beauties and the Beast. So there's Roy Green, he's the beast. Catherine Swift, former chair of the CFIB, now Working Canadians, and myself. And we take on the matters of the day every Saturday at 4:30.
You've managed to accomplish all of this, and still you've had some challenges in your life, right? Some personal challenges.
Well, yes, and it's been a long road on that too, but my daughter Sky was 9 when she got Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she ended up having a stem cell transplant.
She was 9?
9 years of age. And back then, I did a show called Moneyline on Rogers, and Ronnie Hawkins was always on the show with the longest-serving broker, Fred Ketchum. In any event, Ronnie wrote a song for Sky, him and his son Robin, and it was called Sky Blue. And they had Tara Macri, this young hawk who now starred in Hairspray and $1 Million Quartet. They sent it to sick kids. We played it. Tara performed. We did fundraisers for Reach for the Sky. So what a wonderful way to give back. The sad news is she went on and she was going to study interior design in Scotland, met a gentleman. She ended up staying here and going to Georgian College. She fainted in class, ended up at Princess Margaret Hospital. It's leukemia. She now needs a bone marrow transplant to survive.
So how many years had transpired?
This is about 8 years or so. She was 22, so she was 9. So yeah, in any event, our son, Austin, was a 9 out of 10 match, so we celebrated. But the doctor said, we're gonna go after a 10 out of 10, which is hard because some people never get a match. They found 2 10 out of 10 matches. So here I am at Princess Margaret. Her boyfriend got down and bended knee, proposed.
Before
the bone marrow transplant. I'm doing the Roy Green Show live from Princess Margaret. Roy, her boyfriend just proposed. We're all cheering. Then she gets the transplant. And now every day every week there's a letter by her bedside. And I said, what? It was from the donor. Oh. And we're not supposed to know who the donor is. So I am now reading the letters live on the Roy Green Show. About 3 or 4 weeks later, Roy calls me and says, the donor found us. And so we did media south of the border. She was from West Virginia, be a match, one match here in Canada, and we did a media blitz trying to say, just get swabbed. You don't know whose life you're going to save. She and her husband drove from West Virginia to be at Sky's wedding at their farm, Ridgeberry Farm in Niagara. I don't think there was...
It's not easy to be a bone marrow donor.
Well, I think it's easier than it used to be. I think now they just take it from the arm. It used to be from the back. But in any event, you're right. There's a protocol you have to follow. But I will say that one swab that you get, she swabbed 11 years before she got the call to save my daughter's life.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now they're connected.
And now they're connected.
Amazing.
I know. It's, and we got to thank our healthcare system too.
So all this time, you're still powering through with your career and advocating for people in terms of financial, issues. Do you have any advice for someone who is getting into the financial business or just wanting to further their career in general? I know you're a big advocate of networking. I
have some, I was blessed that I worked in the media. Look at the people I got to meet. I will say, with Cambria now, I'm meeting some very interesting people as well. But network. I always say, be passionate and love what you do. And I loved being a crusading journalist. But I got to tell you, I'm loving being VP of Marketing and Business Development for this company called Cambria. And how I got to Cambria, it's all Ronnie Hawkins. It's who you know.
It doesn't even make sense. How does Ronnie Hawkins and countertops go together?
I know, I go hard rock hard. But anyway, Ronnie was on my TV show for a long time, and he'd always say, the big time's just around the corner, And then, for him, he kept on saying, I'm going to make the big time. So it's interesting. Our CEO, Marty Davis, and it's a privately held, family-owned business. Our whole family is the biggest fans of the band. So this is how small the world is. Think about this. He has a home in Palm Desert. He's golfing with Peter Pocklington, who wrote for me in Edmonton. What you don't know, Peter Pocklington was a roadie for Ronnie Hawkins way back in London, Ontario.
Come on.
So Marty, our CEO, had just been at Levon Helm's place before he passed away, and he wanted Levon Helm to be a brand advocate because his company only started in year 2000, and he wanted Cheryl Tiegs, he wanted all these celebrities. Levon turned him down. So Peter Pocklington is golfing. He says, well, go to Canada and get Ronnie Hawkins. What you don't know is Robbie Robertson, Garth Hudson, the boys from the band were all Ronnie's Hawks. And Bob Dylan stole them to go on the tour when he went electric. And that's history in the making. So Marty comes to Canada and hires Ronnie. And Ronnie says, Linda, phones me, the big time just arrived. And so the next thing I know, I've got the CEO on my television show, thanks to Ronnie. And the next thing I know, I left the Sun and I'm being flown to Minnesota and I've been offered this position and I'm going, wow, how do I accomplish this? And I gotta tell you, it's now 8 years. I was hired on April Fool's Day, it's 8 years.
Well, when we come back, I want you to talk about why you're so proud of Cambria and the products that they make. And maybe we'll drop a few more celebrity names. How does that sound?
I love it.
We'll talk about the one who kissed you on the lips.
I can't wait to tell.
More with Linda Leatherdale when we come back. Well, we're back with Linda Leatherdale. She is a financial guru and editor for so many things that we've read and watched, and you've gone into the marketing business, VP of Marketing for Cambria. Before the break, we talked so much about your personal life and your rise through the ranks in the industry, but now you've made the switch to be the marketing VP for Cambria. Why are you so proud of Cambria?
Well, it's an interesting company, You hear Donald Trump say, make America great again. Well, Cambria is doing that, Donald Trump, so move over.
One countertop at a time.
One countertop at a time. It's owned by the Davis family. They're out of Minnesota. They actually started out in the dairy business 70 years ago and formed Davisco Foods. It became a global entity. In year 2000, there's the grandfather, the father, and then the son, Marty, our CEO, and there's brothers are involved too. Anyway, they were going to invest in this technology for quartz countertops, quartz surfaces, and it was a Breton technology. Well, Marty, being the entrepreneur he is, he said, why would we be an investor? Let's start our own company. And he called it Cambria because the family's Welsh and the name Cambria. What is so interesting is the quartz is mined here in Canada and it's shipped to Minnesota where we have a manufacturing plant that has just doubled in size. I began 8 years ago on April Fool's Day and I've watched this empire grow North American wide. It's privately held, family owned, so no Wall Street voodoo, no Bay Street voodoo, no, this is investing in their people, investing in their product to have a #1 product. And I know I'm selling, but it's true. And now they just formed Cambria International. So this North American product is now being exported to China, to Europe, to Ireland, where we just did a series of new ad campaigns on the set of Vikings and Game of Thrones. Wait till you see these ads. It's going to blow your mind. And it's all with their heritage. So they're very family oriented. It reminds me of the days when I began at the Toronto Sun with Doug Creighton, when you got a letter saying that I'm making a profit, so I'm going to share the profits with you. Cambria is now making a profit, so it's sharing the profit with us.
And the product is so beautiful, durable, gorgeous.
Oh yes, non-porous, it won't stain. I mean, here's a little message, I guess, advertising. But yeah, it's stain resistant, scratch resistant, it's green guard. We have Mariel Hemingway, she's an actress, but a healthy living advocate. She's one of our brand advocates and gives that message. This company also believes in giving back. So Marty, a few years ago, decided juvenile arthritis because he had a sports celebrity friend. By the way, we do a lot of sports marketing, that had a child with juvenile arthritis. So we started a camp in the United States, sending kids with juvenile arthritis to camp. Last year, we did our first camp here in Canada. We sent 100 children to the Kawarthas. This year, we're doing 140 kids up in Muskoka.
And it's called Camp Cambria.
Camp Cambria. We pay the whole shot for these children. Mariel Hemingway, being a healthy living advocate, will come in and she will do yoga classes with the children. And I got to tell you, it makes my heart warm. South of the border, we do fundraisers for our Camp Cambria Foundation. So we have a relationship with Steven Tyler I need to talk about.
All right, yes, we are going to talk about this.
Okay.
You have a personal connection with Steven Tyler.
Well, we have a magazine that goes throughout North America, 900,000. He's on the cover of one. But we put Cambria in his Nashville home. So I got a call. I'm going to be now in Niagara Falls, and he's performing. And I'm like, I'm backstage with Steven Tyler. And this is when he brought that kid with Down syndrome in, and he let them play the cowbells with him. And I got to say, I cried. What a wonderful, kind soul he is. But I was backstage with him, and he kissed me on the lips. And I'm like, can I get home? And my husband's sleeping. How was it? Steven Tyler kissed me. Anyway.
And he's fine with that, right? Because if
Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler kisses your wife, that's cool.
That's cool. Anyway, to make a long story short, he started up a charity called Janie's Fund to raise money for children, girls who have been abused. So we have a gallery in downtown Toronto, and we opened up that gallery during TIFF last year, and we raised over $100,000 for him. And he came, and he was with us, and then we went to his concert at the Sony Center the next night, and who backstages with him? The little boy with Down syndrome. Aww. So I got to tell you, we have some great people, but Big and Rich are on the cover. And again, Steven performed for free at Camp Cambria to raise money for the kids. Big and Rich did the same. And so we just have such a great relationship with all of these stars.
And they love the product, which is awesome.
Well, Steven, as I mentioned, he did a country album, and he was living in Nashville, so he put Cambria in his home. Breaking from Bad, the star, he put Cambria in his Malibu home because he loves it. Cheryl Teagues was a brand advocate. She has Cambria in her home, and so does Mariel Hemingway. So it's quite a list of.
We could go on and on.
I know we could.
We have about 90 seconds left. Can you tell us what's happening with the Canada's 150th in Cambria?
Oh my goodness. So Ronnie Hawkins, back to Ronnie. He is one of the few Americans, because that's where he's from, Arkansas, to win the Order of Canada. We are so proud. I am the chair of the Bronte BIA. We're having the biggest ever festivities in Bronte Harbor, that's Oakville, on July 1. We're bringing Ronnie in. We're going to have a Club Cambria with our product in it, and we are going to celebrate Canada's birthday in huge style.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being here today.
Val, it's a real pleasure to be here with you,
Oh
too.
my goodness. And you just keep rocking the world, would you?
As long as Ronnie's by my side, we'll rock on.
Where do we go to get more information on Cambria?
You can go to CambriaCanada.com. Certainly, we also have, of course, Facebook and Twitter. Cambria Quartz is how to get information. Linda Leatherdale, LindaLeatherdale.com. Try to keep that website up to date. And
your daughter's doing well now, right?
my daughter is married, and she is moving to Niagara, and she is doing amazing.
Brilliant.
And we have a new blue Cambria called Sky. Sky blue.
Love it.
Sky blue.
It all comes together.
It all comes together.
Thanks again.
Okay.
Thank you so much for watching today. We would love to have you and your business on TV. That's what we're here for. We want to promote you. If you've got an event coming up or a business to promote, get in touch with us so that we can get you on TV and online. Here's our website, ontvonline.ca. We'd love to hear from you.